perception is everything. We all use our own personal lens when viewing how we see the world and therefore how we process it. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine yourself sitting in a beautiful park. Use your senses to take in what's around you. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell and feel? Are you present? Do you see the budding leaves and flowers on the nearby tree? Can you hear the breeze rustling through the tree branches? Can you smell the faint wafting of blossoming flowers? What about the sunlight on your face? Does it warm you? Now, how is it that one of us can feel all of these sensations and the other one is annoyed by the big dog barking in the distance and hear the cars going by on the nearby street and smell some burning charcoal and feel an itch on the upper back that can't quite be reached? Everything I described is happening. All of it in the present moment. It's what we choose to think about that becomes what we experience, what we feel. And we can train ourselves to look at what's good around us and not just the background noise. Another simple way to put it is, we are what we think about. And that's a given for any situation. Your own unique history, personality, and present emotional state has already put you into a mindset before you even leave your house. Think about it. There was a time a while back when I was doing customer service at a company I used to work for. A man walked up to the service counter and wanted to speak to me about his custom order being messed up. It was my job at the time to do custom orders and to follow up and make sure that the client got what was requested, as requested. Most of the time things were smooth, but of course there were issues with some orders and most of the clients were understanding when I explained what corrective actions were being taken. I prided myself on my service as I was able to naturally empathize with people. And with proper training, tools, and knowledge, I could fix issues efficiently and with care. This particular man on this particular day was just not having it. He did not accept nor understand what I was doing to correct the issue. He went from an already angry to an over-the-top, irate, explosive stick of dynamite in a flash. He wouldn't listen. And he wouldn't accept any of my solutions. Now, I'm not recommending that anyone do what I did, but at the time, it just felt like the thing to do. What did I do, you're asking? Well, as he was yelling, I decided to go around the counter and approach him, carefully, purposefully. Sounds dangerous, right? Why would I volunteer for my head to be bitten off when the fangs were already snapping the air? It's like offering my hand to a hungry alligator. I was literally exposing myself, my body, to whatever harm could befall me. I had my hands low, with my palms out, then deliberately and slowly put my hands on my chest. I covered my name tag with one hand, which was over my heart. I held eye contact the entire time. With the utmost sincerity in my voice, I humbly said, "What's wrong?" I gazed at him inquisitively as he stopped his barking. "Just two guys talking, from one guy to another. What happened?" I held my gaze as well as my calm physical composure. I was not threatening him with my words or my body. He froze. His body was tense, and suddenly, as if something washed over him, he dropped his shoulders and head. His voice cracked. He became somber, like he was going to cry. I'd just gotten in a huge fight with my wife. I think she left me for good. I don't know what to do. He began to weep. I offered him some privacy where I let him let out all of his frustration and heartache. I offered him some bottled water. He drank it. Some of you may remember a similar story from another video, that bottled water has an effect. No, but what I did offer him was kindness, and just someone to listen to his problems, and an outlet for him to be vulnerable. But why, you ask? How did you know he was in pain? Weren't you scared of him? Weren't you mad at him for yelling at you for no reason? Listen, I've dealt with my own pain and suffering enough and seen it enough in other people to recognize when something is off. What was off in that incident was his level of anger. In my experience, there was something else pricking his neck, something else stabbing his side, breaking his heart, and it wasn't the thing he was yelling about. You see, for me, when I realized that reason, that is, the cause or logical explanation of something, wasn't making sense, all that was left was pent-up emotion that must have been the cause of his behavior. And I get it. I understand that things don't always go your way. But the level and display of raw anger just wasn't matching the situation, not from my experience anyway. He wasn't shouting personal attacks or making demands or even trying to get something for free. That's different. No, what he was doing was purely out of frustration from other things going on in his life that only he knew about. So no, I wasn't scared of him. I felt bad for him. Often when I see adults acting out like that, I picture them as children. It's a trick I learned from a therapist a long time ago. Without condescending him or patronizing him, I simply saw him as a frightened little boy in pain. Remember what I said in another video? Hurt people hurt people. Was I mad at him for spewing his anger at me? I mean, it wasn't pleasant, but again, I learned a while ago through experience and introspection not to take things personally. It's a lesson that you might need to pick up as well. No one is against you. They're for themselves. That is to say, people will almost always act out of self-interest. Think of a simple thing that happens all the time. It can be scary. You may be driving or riding in a car and someone cuts your car off or aggressively honks at you and yells profanity at you. It's sudden and sometimes feels like your life may be in jeopardy, like you're being threatened with these extreme actions and flaming words. Well, when I was younger, I used to take it personally. I would either react with fear or anger or both. How dare they? I'd think to myself, who do they think they are? Do they know who they're talking to? Now, breathe with me for a second. Inhale and exhale. Who do they think they are? The only person that matters in their egocentric driven existence. That's who. Do they know who they're talking to? No, they don't. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. What's going on in their head is that you are not meeting their own expectations of how things should be. Again, they are egocentric. Remember, they are not against you. They are for themselves. It makes no difference who you are. You're not doing what they had in mind. And what they had in mind was an open road with only their car on it to drive however and wherever they pleased with only green lights, no stops, and no other disruptions. Their mind is not present. They are not thinking and responding to their environment with reason. They are reacting with emotion. They're being reactionary. And so are you if you get caught up emotionally. Sound familiar? Like my angry friend at the counter? As a side note, a simple trick I developed for impatient drivers who have a habit of yelling or giving the finger and zipping through traffic is that I imagine them really needing to use the bathroom. Like it's an emergency. Like they're holding it in for dear life and need to get home so they can sit on the toilet and find relief. It's a cool little trick that I encourage you to try out. You'll start to find yourself giggling when it happens. So how do we perceive the world around us? How can we navigate shark-infested waters and still come out alive? Well, we can start with our thoughts. Start with understanding the order of things in the world. Do you go through your day simply reacting with emotions when something happens to you or when you hear something that happened? If your answer is yes, we have some work to do. If I am describing you, then you might be going through life living as a victim of your circumstances. What do I mean? If you feel like things and events around you are just thrust upon you and all you can do is react with your emotions, then you need to understand that you are allowing yourself to be controlled by your external environment. Don't get me wrong, everyone can react with emotions when personally affected by a sudden event or sudden new piece of information. That's often a natural way of trying to process something unexpected. You're driving at night and suddenly you hear and feel a thump on your bumper. Oh no! Did I hit a poor animal? I hope I didn't hit anything. Is my car okay? Yeah, it's natural. So let's stick with the cars for a minute. Imagine that you were getting cut off by an angry driver and you see them flipping you the finger. Are you quick to get angry? Does your ego tell you that they can't do that to you? Do you want instant revenge? In other words, do you feel like you're the victim of someone's misplaced rage? If you honestly answer yes, then again, I want you to consider that in that moment, you have now placed your emotions on a platter for anyone to play with. And in this case, a total stranger who in all matters of fact doesn't care who you are or know who you are. But now you're giving them power over you. Do you see how? You're giving someone who doesn't even know you power by allowing their thoughtless actions to grab and squeeze and crush your feelings like a cup of jello. Do you understand this process I'm describing? Instead of taking a breath, making sure you're not actually in physical danger, and assessing the situation with your rational brain or your reason, you jump automatically to an emotional reaction. And by doing that, you are skipping an entire component or element of how things in your world can work for you and not against you. So how am I supposed to react then, you're asking? My suggestion for bettering yourself is to start with your internal world. Instead of going through life waiting to react to things that happen to you, take control of yourself. Take control of your thoughts, and in doing so, you will control your emotions. You will start to respond rather than react. And in doing that, you will find that the real world, the one in your mind, will find inner peace. That's what's known as peace of mind. See, here is the direction or flow of how information works in your life. Your mind has a thought. You think or ruminate on that thought until it becomes this feeling. You feel this feeling enough that it becomes an emotion. Your body reacts to this emotion by sending hormones all over the place until you now get taken over by this emotion. But what is it that gets taken over? What is taking over what? Let's pause for a second. If you're living your life consciously, I mean with better present moment awareness of your thoughts, here is where you can take control of your emotions by using your higher faculties like your reason and perception. Now is when you have the opportunity to rethink what's happening around you and in front of you, and especially in your head, and take control of how you will respond with your higher faculties. You might not even need to go past your thoughts and into your feelings, which lead to emotions. You may have already mastered certain parts of your thought processes, which have now led to you being calm and collected when something like a crazy driver gets your attention. But let's get back to your emotional reaction. So your heightened emotions are flooding parts of your body with stress hormones. Your body is shaking or tensing or freezing up or tightening. Yeah, you're losing control. And you can really feel these things. Your body is the instrument that you've been using and will use your entire existence on this planet to propel or move you through your environment. Your body is now full of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which are now reversing the direction or flow of information. You've now effectively cut off your thoughts. Instead of accessing your higher faculties, your organized ideas with intelligence and reason and perception, you're now left to fend for yourself with your heightened emotions and your amped up body. And as you know, everything I described can happen in just a second or two. That's all it takes. Well, sometimes I feel like I can't help it, you say. I've just always been like this, you say. Or, I don't know where it comes from, but I get triggered, you say. Well, guess what? All of those statements are just parts of you that it turns out you need to work on. I feel like I can't help it is a different way of saying, I don't take responsibility for myself and have never actually thought about working on it. I've just always been like this is a different way of saying, I've given up on myself, and even though I don't like this part of me, I'm too busy or too lazy or stubborn to work on it. I don't know where it comes from, I just get triggered is a different way of saying, I am not in touch with my emotions and would rather let other people dictate how I live and play the victim. There are more excuses I'm sure you can come up with or have heard others come up with, but they're all just excuses. Look, there's no magic wand or simple spell someone can cast on you to suddenly change overnight. Getting in touch with your thoughts and emotions is a lifelong journey. It is work, and it can be very painful to face your past, but it is absolutely critical for your growth. How do I know? Because I am a work in progress just like you. I still have many internal battles I'm fighting and afflictions to overcome. Just remember that what I share with you is from a place of love and humility. I can see how I've changed as a result of the work I put in and through my experiences that I've reflected on. As I mentioned in another video, the world is not changing so much as you are. True, we all live on this planet together and we need each other. But if you find that the world feels messed up, try looking inward to the real world. Try changing your perception. You can find anything that you're looking for by looking for it. You can go sit at the park and find everything wrong with your surroundings. You can make a detailed list of how things should be or how they ought to be if you were in charge. Well, you are in charge of your thoughts. I challenge you to make a mental list of everything right in your environment. Focus on what's good. But what if everything sucks, you're asking? What if my environment is bringing me down? You have a valid point. Yes, there is what I call the real world between your ears. But there is the outer world, the one we all share. And yes, there can absolutely be bad, or what some people refer to as toxic environments. How do I deal with that, you're asking? My answer to you is focus on what you actually have control over. Do you live in a toxic environment? That is to say, are you being verbally and or physically abused? You need to find a friend or relative or trusted authority to help you get out of there. If it really is that bad, you've got to confide in someone you trust to help you either spend less time there or completely remove yourself from that situation. You're worth more than that and don't deserve it. I cannot advocate for you and don't know what your actual situation is, but please seek guidance from someone you trust. So the next time you find yourself out and about in public, mingling with people in a shared space, try something out. Before you leave your house, tell yourself that you're going to find 3 things you observe that will make you smile. It could be watching other people laughing, maybe seeing a cute dog or cat, maybe an act of kindness that you witness. I guarantee you'll find more than 3. If you want to try the opposite as an experiment, that is, look for 3 things that you don't like or that bother you, I can also promise you that you'll find more than 3. As we started out saying, perception is everything. You can find what you're looking for if that's what you're looking for. I can also promise you that if you change your outlook on the world, that is, use a different lens, one of joy and a positive energy, you will most certainly feel better about the world around you. But what you're really doing is feeling better about you. So for now, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, keep going. I believe in you.